Hello and welcome to this session. In this session, we are going to progress on our development of the e-commerce application that we have started. I believe you would have already seen what we are trying to achieve as an end result. It has been captured in one of the videos earlier in the playlist. So if you have not already seen it, please go ahead and watch that video because that will help you understand what we are trying to achieve. In this particular session, we are going to discuss about asynchronous task and how it can be used to fetch data from the server. We are going to use a JSON to basically fetch the data and then populate it into the database. This is the first screen of our application. If I could just take you through the flow, we are going to discuss the start screen. The start screen is the splash screen. Okay, so this is the first screen which you see once you click on an application. Now typically what applications display here is their icon or some kind of an animation or some kind of photograph, and typically there is no user interaction on this particular screen. Now why do we need such a screen? Now if you look at the utility point of view, from the next screen onwards, most of the applications would be displaying something, some data or the other. Now the data can be of two types. One, it can be static, in which case it is already available with the application, and the second could be dynamic, in which case it has to be fetched every time from the server. Let's say, for example, you are building a news app or an application which broadcasts news. Now the news is going to change every time the user logs in. So it has to actually fetch the data every time from the server and display it to the user. So while this activity or while this job of fetching the data is happening, the user cannot actually see or do anything. So what do you typically do? What you do is that you have a splash screen where you display your organization logo or the app logo, or you just put some static content at that point of time, and while the user is having a look at that, you go ahead and synchronize the data that you require at the backend to an asynchronous task. Now this is exactly what we are trying to achieve today. Now moving ahead, let us first have a look at the layout. Now please remember that this is a very simple layout where we are going to put one particular color, which is red color, as a background, and we are just going to mention the name of the application at a certain particular place. What we have done is we have created a relative layout, and in the relative layout, if you look at it, we have set the background color as a hash code, which is nothing but a tinge of red color, and we have put the padding parameters, and then what we have done is we have just created a text view. Now the text view is going to display the name of the application, which is basket. So it will be displayed 107 dp from the bottom, and the text color would be a color close to white, and the size of the text which will be displayed will be of 40 sp. Now moving to the start screen.java, this is the code for the splash screen. Now to start off, what we have done is inside the activity we have defined or initialized an SQLite database, and the variable is SQLite. Now moving on, as you can see, this is the method on create options menu, which is used to inflate the menu. Now in the splash screen, you would have seen that typically there is no action bar which is visible, mainly from an aesthetics point of view. If the action bar is not visible, then it does not make sense to inflate the menu options. So what we are going to do is we are going to delete this particular method. Now the next method that we are going to focus on is the onCreate method. If you remember, in the first basic Hello World application that we developed, we had only this part of the code where we call the super onCreate method, and then we mapped the particular layout, which is activity underscore start underscore screen, to this particular activity. Okay, so the rest of the code is new, and I will explain it to you what we are trying to do. In this couple of lines, what we have done is we have initialized the action bar to a variable action bar, and then using the .hide method, we are hiding the action bar. So what will happen is in the splash screen, the action bar will not be visible anymore. Now in the next set of tasks, what we are trying to achieve is to create a database or open the database. Now let's look at it from this way, that there is going to be a first time login for this particular app, which is immediately after the app has been installed on the mobile, and then there are going to be subsequent logins. Now what this particular statement open or create database does is that if a database called Basket Buddy is already available in the mobile application, if it is not available, then it will go ahead and create that database. If it is available, it is going to open the database. So in the first time login, it is going to create. On all subsequent logins, it is going to open the database. Okay. Now in the next set of SQL statements, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create the tables. Now again, here also, if you look at it, all the statements talk about create table if not exists. So what it typically does is that in the first time login, one after the application has been installed, because the database is new, the tables do not exist. So it is going to go ahead and create these tables, and the source code is available in my blog, which is mentioned in the link below. So you can always get hold of the code. So I'm not going field by field, but what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create couple of tables. One is for the user, which is to store the logged user parameters. The second is the city list. So this is where we are going to get the list of cities from the server and store it. Then the third one is a user preference selections. We will come to this later on. The fourth is the checklist. Again, this table also we are going to come later on. And the fifth table that we are trying to create is a product master. Now, because this is an e-commerce application trying to develop, we definitely need to save the product details with all the fields for each and every product. So we are creating a product master, and also we are going to create a cart table. This is where the cart details will be saved. As a good practice, this is not ideally the way that we should be executing SQL statements. SQL statements should ideally be handled through a separate handler, because what happens is that if we embed the SQL statement here, even if we need to change the SQL statement or if we need to add a column to a particular table, we need to actually make the changes in each and every activity where the table has been called. So to avoid this, we should ideally follow an MVC framework where all the database access should be separately handled in a particular class, and that class is the only class which will basically talk to the database. But right now, because we are starting off from an understanding point of view, I think it's better that we embed the code here. But as a good practice, just to again reiterate the fact that we should not be putting SQL statements here inside this code. We should create a separate helper for this. Now the next thing that we are trying to do is to call the asynchronous task to get the details of the list of cities where our application or our services are available. Now if you remember the flow of the application that we are trying to develop, the first screen is the splash screen, which is this one, and the next screen is where the user has to select from a drop down menu his preference city. Now note that because it's an e-commerce website, we need the default city, because our services may vary based on the city in which the user is available. So what it essentially does is that the first time the user logs into this application, which is the first time login, we will take the user to the city selection screen, which is after the splash screen. Now notice in many of the applications you would have seen that the login happens only one time, which is the first time, and then on subsequent times you are not taken to the login screen again and again. You are directly taken to the home screen of the application, but on the first time you are diverted to a login screen where either you log in through Facebook or Google or through the application itself. So similarly in this particular case, the city selection is going to be a one-time thing, only the first time thing, and on subsequent times we are going to directly go to the home screen. So after the asynchronous task is called, this is the code for the asynchronous task. Now asynchronous task has three major methods. One is the on pre-execute, which is here. The second one is the do in background, and the third one is on post execute. Now in on pre execute, what we typically do is prepare the data which is required for the do in background method. And do in background is the asynchronous part where the activity happens in a thread which is separate from the main activity thread of the application. And on post execute is what happens or what you want to happen after the do in background method has completed its job. Now we are going to get the data from the server in the JSON format. So we are just initializing the variables here, which is a JSON parser. Before we proceed, I would like to point out the fact that there is another additional file called JSON-parser.java. This is a class which has the JSON parser parameters and how it is going to fetch the data from a particular URL over HTTP. Now this code is available on my blog, which is mentioned below. So you can go ahead and download it and place it in your project folder. Now please make sure that you place this file in your project folder before proceeding. Now on the pre-execute, what I'm doing is I'm obviously calling the super method for on pre-execute, and then I am also setting the URL which should get called to get the city details. And I'm also initializing the JSON parser variable to the JSON parser, to a new JSON parser. Now, if I take this link and go to Chrome and click on this, you will see that it is returning the list of cities. Now, what I've done is that on my server side, I have a domain called logo.in where I have created a method which returns the names of cities in a JSON format. Now, if you just want to validate the JSON, let us go to JSON lint. This is a website which you can use to verify whether the JSON is correct or not. And you paste the JSON and do a validate. If you look at it, this is how the data has come. So we have a city tag, which is the main identifier for the JSON. And then we have for every city name tag, we have one new city name. So we're going to run a loop within this to pick up all the different city names which are available. Now it can be 3, it can be 100, it doesn't matter. Now going back to the code, this is the URL which should get called, and I have just initialized the variable JSON parser. Now moving on to the do in background, what we are trying to do is here we are trying to do a try and catch exception handling, where we are trying to reach the URL and to get the JSON from that particular URL. And once we have done that, this is the variable where the data is coming to. And once we have got the data from the response, we are going to create a JSON array. The name of the variable is jar. We are trying to create a JSON array jar, and we are trying to assign the data belonging to the city tag into this jar variable. So if you remember this is the city tag. Now based on this, if there is a match with respect to city JSON tag, then only this statement will be successful and jar will have some length. That is why if you look at it, I have used a log statement to print the jar as well. Now once we have got the data with respect to the city, now we are already here. Now the next set is to run a loop and get the data for this particular section. Now to do that, what we are trying to do is we are trying to define a JSON object J, and we are trying to get the data one by one by running a loop of the JSON object which is there in the jar variable. And once we are getting the data, we are inserting the data in the city list table by getting the data from j.getString city name. So you remember the tag was city name. So for every city name, we are trying to get the string associated with the city name. So first it will return Delhi, then it will return Gurgaon, and then it will return Noida. So what happens here is that the JSON array with respect to city is assigned to the jar JSON array. Now what typically happens is that this part of the code or this part of the JSON is moved to the jar variable. Now what we are trying to do is we are trying to measure the length of the jar variable, which will tell you how many elements that particular array has, and then run a loop that many number of times to identify each of the cities which are there, and then Based on that, we execute the SQL statements. Now, for the first JSON array object that we have identified, what we are trying to do is we are checking in the city list table in the database if that particular name already exists. So this is what we are trying to do by doing the raw query and assigning it to sample. Now if the sample cursor returns some value, which means that there is data or this city already exists in the city list table, so we are not going to do anything. If it doesn't return any value, that means that this city is not already there in the city list, in which case we are executing a insert into city list statement for that particular city, and then we are going to run this loop till all the elements have been identified. In this particular case, this loop will run 3 times. And if you look at the try and the catch, what we are trying to do is if there is a JSON exception, we will catch it and return particular code called pre-error. We'll see how we are handling this. And if there is any other kind of exception, we are going to return error. And if there is no error, we are going to return a success. Now moving to post execute. Now in on post execute, what we are doing is this result which we have returned in the do in background method, in post execute it is coming as an input, and here we are basically doing a handling of that result. Now if the result is equaling to p error, which was a JSON error, we are putting a toast message, which is nothing but a pop-up message which will come for the user, and this is what we are trying to display there. If there is any other sort of error, we are mentioning that it could be an internet related problem. So we are saying that please check your internet connection. And if there is no error, or if the return parameter is success, then this is the part of the code which will get executed. Now this is just a delay that I have introduced of 1 second. Now if you want, you might decide not to run this delay, in which case you can just remove these 2 lines of code, and obviously also this line, because this is the part which will get executed. So what we are trying to do here is that once the data has been fetched from the internet, from the server, so what we are trying to do here is that check the user preference table if the preferred city for the user is already existing or not. Now if it is a first time login, then the user preference table will be empty and there will be no data available. So in that case, what we are doing is we are initializing the user preference table by inserting one row, which is just a blank row as a placeholder, so that we know that so that at least one row is available in the user preference table. Now note that in the city name column of the user preference table, we are putting it as none, which means that default city selection has not happened for this particular user. Once the insertion has happened, we are just going back and checking if the insertion has happened correctly by running this cursor D again. And if the D move to first is successful, which means that if we run this query, we got some result back. So in that case, what we are trying to do is we are trying to call the next activity which should activate. Now the way to call an activity from another activity is through intent. Now if you look at it, I have just commented out the code because these two activities are not yet created. These are the subsequent activities that we need to create. So I have commented it out, otherwise it would have thrown an error message. So the way that we do it is that we create a new intent where we say that what is the activity which is the host activity and what is the new activity which should get called. If you look at it, the way that we have handled it is that if in the user preference the city is none, so in the first login what will happen is the city will always be none because we have just inserted the data here. In this case, the city is not yet defined. We will call the city screen where the user will have to select the city. But from second login onwards, because the user has already selected a city, in user preferences we should get a city which is not equal to none, in which case we will directly call the home screen. So this is the way we are handling the case of the first time login and the subsequent logins. Now moving on to on post create, this is just this is a method which is a default method there in the activity. I think we can leave it like this. Now on destroy, this is where we need to be very careful. Now this SQL light dot close, if you don't close the SQL connection, it is going to cause a problem, because in the next activity, if we again try to open the same SQL connection, it will result in an error. So it is very important that whenever we are exiting this activity, we actually close the SQL connection. So what I have done is this on destroy method gets called when this activity gets destroyed. So once this the new activity starts, this activity will get destroyed. So because of this, what I have done is I have actually put the SQLite.close here. So on destroy of this activity, the SQLite connection also gets closed. So let's see how this application behaves. So I'm going to run this application. So once I run the application, I'm going back to my emulator, and as you can see, this is the application which is running. Now as we have defined, the action bar is not there on the top. The background of this activity is the tinge of red that we defined, and the name of the application which we want to display is available here, which is basket. Now the JSON would have also got fetched from the server and processed, and the city list would have been populated, but because we have not yet defined the next set of activities, we are not able to understand whether it is successful or not. But obviously once we go into the next set of sessions, we'll be able to see that the data has already got fetched and the city list has been populated. Thank you for watching this session. If you liked it, please do not forget to press the like button. Also do subscribe to our channel for more such sessions. Thank you.